Hello, I'm Scott Triggs and welcome to Spill the Tea. My guest today is a military wife, mother, Microblade Tech, PMU Tech, plasma specialist, dermaplaning expert and trainer. A self-confessed skin geek, she is a prolific online content publisher. From school dropout and former barmaid to double glazing saleswoman and estate agent and financial advisor in the city and banking consultant. She has incredibly opened 9 startup businesses from scratch in the last 8 years and is a lead trainer for the Love Plasma brand by Theresa Wild and of course Everlasting Brows. And now, at least for the time being, she's settled in Thetford on the Norfolk Suffolk borders, running Body and Brows by, of course, my favourite goblin of stick, Alice Kingdom. We met earlier this year and her personality, knowledge and enthusiasm is just so much fun and great to be around. During today's interview, we talk about everything from technique loyalty and brand promiscuity to pigments, parachutes and porn stars. Wait till the end and you'll see. Go take a look. Alice Kingdom. Welcome to Spill the Tea. What do you think of the name? I'm still unsure of the name.
I like it. Yeah. It's a I hadn't realised, I don't know if you've done it on purpose, but like giving someone the tea on something is
the truth.
Like a thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I hadn't realised that until recently, and then
everybody thinks. Most people think that it comes from RuPaul's Drag Race, where that term, spilling the tea, is bandied around quite a lot. But it's actually from a novel that I read many, many years ago called Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil.
Okay.
And it then went on to be a film with Kevin Spacey and Jude Law. And there's a character in that book that spills the tea. The tea is her truth. And that's where, and of course, I suppose the connection with Mr. T, Mr. Triggs.
Well, that was the other thing that I thought. I like it.
Yes, thank you. It's a bit of a play in words. Anyway, welcome to Spill the Tea. The first part of what we're going to do, Mrs. Kingdom, is we're going to talk about who are you. Okay? So you're originally from East London, the Essex borders. You are in fact an Essex girl, but you're a military wife, married to Steve, mum of Archie and Rose. When you first met Steve, he was a corporal in the RAF regiment, kind of like the RAF version of a soldier on the ground. He had many tours away, including several in Iraq and Afghanistan, and you remarked to me, mostly hanging out of helicopters and what you describe as really cool stuff like that. And I can't help wondering here what he would say about that and your description. He's now an officer in the RAF and you describe him as a very modest man. But, and I love this, you say in real life he's a bit of a G.I. Joe.
He is, yeah. I mean, when we first met, he was, like I say, in the RAF regiment. Your description of a soldier, the Air Force's equivalent of soldier on the ground is what he does rather than being a pilot or an engineer. He did a couple of tours away and he's done some really dynamic jobs. You get used to it. You get used to your husband, like you say, hanging out of helicopters and things like that. He's also, he skydives. He's part of the RAF parachute display team. He does something called the Cresta Run every year, which is throwing himself down this crazy ice luge. So I'm just kind of used to him.
That's normal for you.
Yes, I do live with my heart in my mouth pretty much every weekend that there ever is throughout the whole of the summer anyway.
Right.
So yeah, that's just normal for me.
Alice, I get a real sense of pride from you when you talk about him, and I know you said he's very modest. But when you describe him to me as like a real life G.I. Joe, I just thought, wow, that must be a lovely thing to feel about, your other half. I think it's awesome. I really do. Okay, so I asked you what it meant to be a military wife, and you said for you it meant making a decision very early on that you would follow in the career of your husband, because as a family it moves you around so much. You and I have met and spent some time together, and I know that you're a very independent person, and in your own words, don't like being told what to do. So sometimes that's been hard for you, isn't it?
Yes, it was really difficult for me. My mum is a massive feminist. My dad's, up on feminist issues. You know, the fact that I was even going to, my mum didn't take my dad's name, for example, when they got married. And, you know, the fact that, I did feel like I needed to make a decision, because I knew that getting married to this man that I really deeply loved was going to take me, and could take me anywhere. And I really felt like I had to make a decision, and it was an active decision for me to say, this is what we do. We will be together, and we will, wherever that is in the world, whether we're together or whether we're apart, that kind of comes first. And I guess I was very lucky with the roles that I did early on, that I had the flexibility to do that. And it's also one of the things that I love about this job is, and again, I know that we've spoken before about me, and I know we'll speak today about me setting up and things more than once. But yes, it does mean that I do need to move around, and it was an active decision. It wasn't something that passively happened.
And a challenge. I know, because we've spoken about it. You said that making new friends is always a bit like. No, I love this. You said making new friends is a bit like dating.
Oh God, it really is.
Yeah, no, I love that. And it means you have to put yourself out there and say hi to people, and both approach and be approachable. Otherwise, you're not going to do that. You're not going to make a network of new people.
And I mean, you know, I am a bit of a gob on a stick. You know, if you see me in a bar, I'm the one that's got a glass of wine or a drink in her hand. I've got a very loud laugh. I can be quite opinionated. I mean, I always try and be nice with it, but I'm quite I can understand why people sometimes find me a little bit intimidating. I've been told I've got a bit of an icy stare as well. It's probably the Botox.
Botox, love, I would have said that one.
But it was something that I had to kind of also be aware of. You know, when you're meeting new people, you don't want to intimidate them. You don't want to come across.
Do you know what? It's really interesting, because that I find very difficult. I don't know whether I'd be able to do that. I'm great like this, and I'm also great on a stage in front of 250 people under a spotlight with a microphone. But anything smaller than that in a social environment, I'm really not very good. And you now are very good at it, because you've had to be.
I have had to be. And do you know what? It was really strange, because growing up as a teenager, I had lots of friends with older brothers and sisters, which was brilliant, because we got invited to really good parties, and we got taken out in the older boys' cars, and everybody knew who I was, because I was so-and-so's friends who had, you know, brothers and sisters and things. And then when I was moved and transported from that situation where I could be in a pub or a bar in quite a large area of Essex or East London, and most people I would know, or they would know me, to somewhere where I was no one.
That must have been a massive culture shock.
It was really weird. And above all, it wasn't just a culture shock for friends, but nothing was open. I mean, I can remember going to live on the outskirts of Cardiff, and saying to my then new husband, I'm just going to pop out for a pint of milk. And he said, well, where are you going to go? I said, well, I'm going to go to the petrol station. He said, well, it'll be shut. I said, what do you mean it will be shut? Because I was just used to everything being open.
I think, do you know what? In Wales, I think we were one of the last.
4 hours a day.
We were one of the last to get Sunday opening in Wales. You know, I remember when Sunday opening came along, and everybody was like, wow. But even then, it was like, I don't know, 11 till 3. You know, it wasn't like all day like it is now.
No. And I think that was my biggest shock, if I'm honest. Moving from, it wasn't my first move. We moved about an hour and a half away from London. But the first move, I guess, away from home was to Cardiff. It was the first time that I'd lived on a military base. It was the first time that I lived in like a goldfish bowl, close proximity to people. And it was weird. It was weird. But yes, it's like dating.
I mean, in fact, every few years there would be another move to a new home, and you always wanted to remain independent and do your own thing. So I wanted to, you touched on it a moment ago, but I wanted to specifically talk about you, because you have an indisputed expertise in this, and that is setting up a new business again and again and again, because very simply, you didn't have a choice.
No.
You have to.
I
You
mean,
want to be your own
I
boss.
did.
You got to do it again.
Yes, you know, and again, I'm big on choice. I think that, you know, it's something that I always say to my military friends and friends in all kinds of industries. You always have a choice. You have a choice whether you want to do something or not. Always, it might not be the choice that you make, might not be what you want to do, but you do have a choice. You can choose to do it. And so every time I move, I choose. Again, I actively choose to move, because I could stay where I am. We moved 6 months ago. I was working in Theresa Wild's clinic. It was, you know, really, really good. But I made a choice again that I'm going to move. And I think that what people need to understand, and it's so relevant at the moment because we're in the middle of the COVID-19 lockdown, is that you're not starting from scratch. It feels like it, but you're not. You're starting from experience because you've already done it.
Yes.
You've already had a successful business, hopefully. So
you
just do what you did last time, and it will be.
You have that expertise. You have that experience. You have those skills. You know how everything works. You're trying, and I'm not for 1 second putting down, you know, the anxiety of starting something new, but you are carrying with you that skill set, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, the anxiety is horrendous, Scott, and the anxiety never goes away.
You actually made the point to me that there is nothing like the juxtaposition of, on the one hand, the anxiety of another project again, but then the sense of achievement and a pleasure almost when you begin to succeed in your new venture. And I love that. Yeah,
it's incredible. You know, and I've done it again here. We came back and we said, right, what am I going to do? Am I going to rent a room? Are we going to buy somewhere? You know, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And you're constantly on a balance of, you know, it is my mind. I'm an analyzer, Scott, as you are. My mind just words.
Sometimes an over-analyzer. Sometimes.
Totally. And my husband's great because sometimes I'll say to him, well, what do we do? Do we convert this? Do I buy somewhere? And he just goes, oh, just get on with it, Alice. It'll be fine. Just make a bloody decision. Get on with it. And most of the time when I do, again, you know, I'm lucky. I do fall on my feet, but it's from that experience.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't entirely agree with you there. And I think sometimes I pick up on that word a lot because people, I use it. You know, I've been very lucky. I am very lucky. It's not so much being very lucky. It's working bloody hard, love. You know? And achieving through experience and hard work.
And I guess, you know, coming back to independence, that's one thing. It's really important for me to have something that is mine.
Yes.
You know, I'm not good at sports. I'm not one of these people that is instantly good at things.
Yes.
But I'm good at this.
Yes.
And it's funny, I was listening to your session with Naomi O'Hara. And she said the same thing. And that really rang a bell for me because, you know, it's, you know, I do become good at a lot of things that I do in life because of my sheer bloody
stubbornness
and my tenacity to keep going. And I guess with this I really wanted to as well. But it is possible to open up, and it's possible. The nice thing about opening up again is you get to get rid of the stuff that you don't like. You get to say, well, I'm not going to do that this time. I'm doing too much of that. I did too much of that. I'm not going to do that this time. You kind of evolve, and it's exciting.
Yeah, and also, I think, you know what, one of the, and I know it's a very old saying, but you know that saying, a change is as good as a rest. It is so true. It's like when you start afresh, it's like going on holiday. It's everything. There's a new perspective on everything you do. So, I totally get that. So now we're going to talk about your journey and how you got to where you are. You left home at the age of 16 or 17. You say you were failing at school simply because you did not want to apply yourself. I'm guessing you were having way too much fun as a teenager at that time.
I had a really, really lovely...
I bet you did. You lived and worked in Spain. upping sticks on a whim and experiencing life abroad, not afraid then of a new culture or a new adventure. You've been an estate agent, worked as a sales manager selling double glazing, I love that, and been a financial advisor in the city. What?
I know, it's crazy.
That's cool.
Yeah, I don't know, it's funny because when I was writing these things down, I was like, God, this makes me sound really old. And like, how long was I in these things for? And I suppose all of them have these switch over elements, which they're all dealing with people.
Yeah.
They're all quite sales and marketing focused.
Yeah.
And
training as well has followed you along a little bit, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, even from the beginning. So the double glazing was kind of straight out of school. I'd started my A levels. Home life was kind of disintegrating around me, and I'd been pretending to go and do my A levels for about 6 months. So I would leave the house in the morning and go and sit in McDonald's.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
In McDonald's with my friends until work, and then I would go back and we would spend the day, me and my friends would spend the day in the garden at my house and getting up to all the kinds of things that teenagers do when they're at work.
Yeah.
Then I moved out.
Yeah.
And I needed a job, and double glazing was it was easy and it was so much fun. Again, there were, this room of maybe 30 or so teenagers in the afternoon after school who were all going through going through old style telephone books and phoning people up and just generally mucking around and having a real good time.
You know what? It's interesting because, I know you're younger than me, but I remember that time. I remember the wave of double glazing studios and shops that opened all over the city. And I had, a decade later, I had clients who were double glazing millionaires.
Yes.
Living in Marbella.
Yeah.
They made so much money that they literally sold the business, and it actually only had a sort of a finite time where it was relevant, because then other things started coming in. But I remember them sort of selling their business and then going off to live in the Costa del Sol.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm really not money motivated. I like nice things, but I think as a teenager, in my late teens, it was nice to have what was quite a lot of money for someone of my age, and again to be hanging around with these older people that were earning lots of money. So it was really good fun.
Amazing. In 2011 you were working for, I think, Lloyd's Bank as a consultant.
Yes.
And it was then that you found yourself pregnant, and it was while you were on maternity that you decided you wanted to do something different. So you opened a beauty business after helping a friend with a business plan. Then having your own brows done, you instantly became interested in the procedure and learning how to do it yourself. So you opened your first business in 2011.
I did.
Beauty business. And you've been doing PMU, but only since 2016.
Yeah, 2015, 2016.
Right.
Okay. The beauty I got into, like I say, by accident, from helping someone else out from a financial advice point of view.
Had you thought about it before then? Had you thought about it before then?
Yes and no. I mean, when I was at school, I wanted to be a hairdresser. And I did my work experience with Vidal Sassoon. I worked at Vidal Sassoon for on and off for about a year. I did hair modelling and things for them. So I kind of wanted to go down that route. Yeah. And then, leaving home, I got swept up in just somewhere that was going to pay the bills. And really just, if I'm honest, Scott, the weird jobs that I've done, I've just fallen from one into another. I've been recommended by people and thought, I fancy the sound of that. But no, it always interested me.
Right.
But
because I do get a sense that this time, you've said, quite openly say, you've fallen into one thing from another, it's led to this, which has led to that. But I do get a sense now, in 2011, you made a choice. You didn't fall into that, did you?
No.
No.
I'd been left a little bit of money. My granddad, who was very financially savvy, decided that he was going to give all of the grandchildren our inheritance early. Pretty much, I think, so that he could test what we were going to spend it on rather than spending it on partying and Gucci handbags. So I'd been left this sum of money by my granddad, which was quite a modest sum, but enough. And I bought a fat freezing machine with it.
Right.
And I think I kind of thought that I would maybe do a few clients a month. I'd make some pocket money while my little boy was small, and that would be it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. People's appetite for the treatment was absolutely insatiable in Wales, Scott.
Yeah.
And before I knew it, I was opening up premises. And it was actually when I was pregnant with my second that I thought, well, I'm going to shut this down and you know, just enjoy my new baby that's coming along. And I stopped advertising, but the phone didn't stop ringing. So I kind of thought, right, I've got an opportunity here to really push forward with the business. And I think I was 36 or 37 weeks pregnant when I opened the place in Ely.
No.
And you know, we did a huge amount of business there, and it was that gave me the opportunity to then follow the semi-permanent makeup because I had the time. So after my daughter fallen into this beauty career when my son was born, and then 2.5 years later when my daughter was born, I thought, right, now I'm going to do the bit that interests me, which was the semi-permanent makeup.
Semi-permanent makeup. So you are in fact a little bit of everything, I know, because microblading, PMU, plasma, what else do you do?
I like skin. I like skin treatments, but I like results-driven treatments. So I like things like dermaplaning, microneedling, and we discussed this kind of advanced beauty name that I kind of feel encompasses what I do.
Me too.
It's not quite aesthetics, you know. I'm not needles and fillers and PDO threads, but I'm not nail extensions and spray tans either. I kind of fit in that bit in between.
You said that you sometimes feel like a bit of a cheat when you do a lovely set of powder brows and really enjoy it and then get really, really good results. You said to me it makes you feel then almost adulterous to your first love, which
it does make me feel.
No bones about the fact that your first love is microblading. You actually said to me, there's plenty of other times in life when you should be faithful, Scott. I'm just not sure that PMU technique is one of them, which I think
that's right.
You trained with Everlasting, didn't you? I did. Yeah, 2016, and you did a few small projects with them, beauty shows, etc., that led you to becoming a trainer for the company. In 2017, you mentioned Theresa earlier, and you relocated to Salisbury, trained with the amazing number fan, and working along.
She's wonderful, isn't she?
Sorry?
She's wonderful, isn't she?
Amazing. Working along Theresa, of course, then you got the chance, as you put it, to pop your nose into lots of courses and multi-classes, and now you're a trainer, in fact, for Theresa's Love Plasma brand. I would love to get my hands on that little machine because it looks absolutely awesome. You've said that you love being independent so that you can maintain a degree of freedom. Your independence then giving you that freedom, and still work with the many brands, suppliers, techniques, procedures and treatments that you continue to engage in and engages your interest. Of all the brands and treatments and procedures that you work with, what's your favourite?
That's a difficult one, Scott. Everlasting. Everlasting is my favourite brand to work with, and that is by absolutely no means a dark mark against any of the others that I work with, because I love all of them. But Everlasting they are just amazing. Kintia and Monica, if you happen to be watching this, you are fantastic ladies, and I look up to you so much. And just everything that they do, Scott, is about pushing the industry forward. They're really, really ethical ladies. They're stunningly beautiful. They're incredibly intelligent. They're so generous. And yeah, I love working with Everlasting. Long may my relationship with them continue.
Lovely. Okay, we're going to get to your work section, and in this section I'd like to ask questions about working environment, procedures, tech spec, that kind of thing. So we're going to start with, what is your go-to permanent makeup machine?
Okay, so I use the Zion.
Yeah.
I really like the Zion. I don't like the way that it looks. I think it reminds me a little bit of a dastardly sex toy. It's quite wide. It's quite heavy.
The first time I actually saw it, I was like, what the fuck is that? That is like, you know, especially the
but I really like it. It's really powerful when it needs to be. I remember first starting to work with it and thinking, this machine knows what I want it to do. Yeah. It felt like it was intuitive, and that it was part of me, and that it was working like that.
Alice, pigments. I know you're a die-hard Everlasting Brows fan. I know. But any other pigment brands, apart from your first love?
So yeah, I learnt with LI, and LI was what I used. It's what I used for the first probably 6 months to a year, until Everlasting brought out their own pigments. And I mean, I've used lots. Again, I put myself about a little bit with my pigments, Scott. It's you know, it's a free for all out there, pigment. I like Tina Davies for machine shading. Yeah. The reason that I like them is just that they're just so highly saturated, and I work really lightly. Yeah. So I like the way that the work comes back. Yeah. Healed.
So you've got such good colour retention with those pigments, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I don't like them for microblading.
Well, that must be then because of your incredibly light pressure, because I'd have to disagree with you on that. And they would be my go-to pigments for microblading. Yeah. I would go straight to Tina's for microblading. I mean, and it's interesting because Layla and I discussed this recently when we did a little live, and the variables, Alice, on people's your technique, your personal technique, your personal pressure, the direction that you work in, your hand position, your client's skin, all those things, and that's the least of them really. But everything has an impact on your result. And it's funny how, you know, one man's gold can be another man's poop. It doesn't, you know, what's great for you isn't necessarily great for me.
And to me, that's one of the things that makes things so interesting.
Right.
I can go back to stuff and I can think, well, okay, well, how did I work with it that way? And what was it that I didn't like? And what is it that I do like about working with this? Yeah. And you know, I often find it difficult when I get people reaching out to me and they'll say, what's your favourite thing, or what should I buy? It really depends.
It's not as easy to answer
really
that.
Depends. Yeah. It's not an easy question to answer, because like you say, what you might love, I might think, oh God, I couldn't work like that. Yeah. And I find that really interesting.
Yeah, me too. Alice, what can you just simply not work without when you're in the clinic?
Lighting.
Yeah, me too. 100%. 100%.
It needs to be good lighting. I just feel lost if I can't see what I'm doing.
What continues to inspire you working in our industry?
I do love that it changes all the time, and I'm a geek.
Yes,
you are. I like the science aspect. I like anything that I can dissect and pull apart and get to know more about. And for me, PMU is like that. It's like peeling back the skin on an onion all the time, that you're changing and evolving, and just when you think that you've figured something out, a new comes along or a new technique comes along, and if you are interested in pushing yourself forward and knowing more about stuff, there's always something new that you can take on, even if it's an ancient technique. You know, there's always something more that you can learn.
Yeah, you're right.
I get bored so easily, so easily. Yeah. I think that's one of the reasons that in my before I was in this industry, I had so many other jobs because I just bored. I'd get to know everything that I felt that I needed to know, and then I was kind of done. I don't feel done with this. I don't feel done with this at all. I still feel like I'm really just getting started with what I know and what I understand.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I love that. If you could open a clinic and live anywhere in the world full of part-time, where would it be and why?
Okay, so this could kind of happen to me, especially with my husband's job.
Well,
I'm not sure.
The point I was making. The fact that it's not as if not many people can answer like you are going to answer this, because not many people have had so many moves. You could, in fact, I half expect you to turn around and say, well, actually, I really don't want to go anywhere. I want to stay where I am.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. I mean, it would be lovely. It would be a really alien feeling if someone said to me, right, you are now where you are and you're going to be there now for the next 10 years, run with it.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, that's quite overwhelming to think about that. I do like it where I am at the moment, and that might not be very ambitious. I am in semi-rural Norfolk.
Yes.
But no, it's nice. It's great where I am at the moment. Yeah. My clientele have welcomed me really beautifully in the last few months that I've been here.
So would you move then if you did have unlimited resources and could go anywhere? Would you go or would you stay?
I'd quite like to travel. So I like traveling. I'd like to be able to say, do you know what? I can go and do some work for 6 weeks in America, or I can go and do a month in Dubai. My best friend lives in Dubai, so that would be quite nice. It would be nice to be able to just do what I love and be a bit more free-spirited about it. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I love that. Okay, so what do you think our industry is going to look like in 10 years?
I don't know what it's going to look like, but I can tell you what I hope for it. I hope that people keep pushing forward on this real thirst and need for education. I kind of get a feeling that 5-10 years ago, PMU was something that you sort of went and did a week's course in, and that was sort of it. You spent then a load of time sat on your own in a clinic somewhere and there wasn't really a thriving community.
So now we're pushing our learners, aren't we?
Yes, and I think, or I hope that that's the way that it continues to go, because a lot of us love it. It's not, I think a lot of tattooists, traditional body tattooists, have seen in the past semi-permanent makeup artists to be a bit of a joke. Going on these short courses and learning a skill which does take a lot of time and a lot of dedication and a lot of knowledge to master. I think that needs to disappear, and I think that it is. I think there is, like I say, this real thirst in people really understanding, and I hope that continues. Because it's what I find interesting. I want to be the very best at what I do, and I want everybody in my industry to be pushing towards better results, better products, better hygiene standards, and I think that it would just be brilliant if we kept working towards that goal. It would be great. Yeah,
interestingly enough, I did an interview yesterday with Ian Walker, and he said that there's this kind of unease between the PMU community and the tattoo community, and he doesn't understand why we can't be more cohesive, and I think that's really, really interesting.
So it's so funny that you say that, because I joined a tattooist board on Facebook recently and got totally gunned down by a lot of traditional tattooists.
Okay.
In the same breath, there were also a lot of traditional tattooists really lifting up the world of PMU. And I think that the gist that I got was this real feeling from the body art community that what they were doing was art, and what they were doing had come from long hours of training and investment, and that PMU artists were really just, like you say, doing feet and fannies and a few eyebrows on the side. And it was actually one of the comments that I made back, you know, please don't make any assumptions about how long I've spent training and how much I've invested. And I've, you know, not that there is absolutely anything wrong with it, but I've never waxed a vagina. You know, it's not what I do. I am.
I actually have, to be honest with you.
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I mean, if I was going to go into waxing, those would be the areas that I would be doing. I mean,
it's funny, isn't it? But very interesting that you would brought that up today when Ian was only discussing it with me yesterday. Who is your PMU hero or heroine, and why?
Again, I've got so many, Scott. I mean, I could probably write a short article of 1,000 or 2 words with the people that I admire. I think one of my very first PMU crushes, aside from my trainers, who I think you always hold your trainers in such high regard, don't you, is Jen Boyd, who is an American artist, Jen Boyd Inc. And the reason that I would say that she's my first PMU crush, if you like, was that she was one of the instructors on the help boards when I very first did my training with Everlasting Brows. And I can remember being totally enthralled and hanging off every single word that she said when she would do a tutorial, or when she would give advice on that board. She was so engaged with the learners there, and I was having these real kind of, I want to be like you when I grow up. I got to meet her when I was at a conference in Miami last summer, which was really nice. And she's really sweet too. So I got to be a bit gushy and say, you know, oh, Jen, I think you're amazing. You know,
that's lovely. That's lovely. How has a client most spectacularly surprised you?
I get surprised by clients all the time. It's usually the mad ones that surprise you. I'm sure we've all had a few mad ones. And I can remember a lady arriving at the clinic with very big, very black, very angular, you know, charcoal pencil eyebrows, and thinking, oh God, like she's answered the wrong advert, because I don't do brows that look like this that last forever. Thinking, oh shit, what am I going to do? This is going to be like the most massive make under ever. But it turned out that she kind of knew that there was something wrong with how she was drawing her brows, and that it was time for her to make a change. And she was so thrilled with the make under that we'd done on her, and she cried afterwards and was saying sort of things like, you know, I wish I hadn't been doing my brows like this for 20 years, you know. It's funny because we're actually friends on Facebook now, and she still wears her brows in this really made under microbladed fashion that we did for her. So yeah, people never cease to surprise me.
Absolutely. Tell me about the time, if ever, where you just wanted to chuck the towel in. I've had enough.
Oh God, as a beginner, all the time. And I'm so pleased that I'm over that. I do suffer with anxiety, and actually learning semi-permanent makeup has kind of empowered me to know that I can get over that, because there's been so many times of anxiety, especially through learning. And I can remember at the beginning coming out of the tube station in London and walking towards Everlasting School on model day, on my day where I was going to do 2 models, one of whom was a very good friend of mine, and I was going to tattoo their faces. And I could have been physically sick. Scott. I can remember, you know, taking a hand and leaning against the wall and thinking, you know, am I going to keep my breakfast today? And really, really wanting to say, I can't do this, I'm not doing it. I don't want to do it. I'm not doing it anymore. I quit. And I'm so pleased that I didn't, because I very rarely feel like that anymore. But it's a very real feeling, isn't it?
It is, and it's funny enough, there's a common thread, and most of us, my experience is, most of us had that feeling very early on, and it dissipates with experience, which of course makes sense. And that's the anxiety that we carry because it's a responsibility, isn't it?
I had a client recently, and I was redoing some brows for her, and she told me that her husband hadn't looked at her for 2 weeks after she had her brows done the last time with somebody else. Not with me, with somebody else,
right.
and that she hadn't left the house for 2 weeks either because she felt so hideous while they were dark and heavy and scabbing. And I had to say to her, well, look, you know, I'm going to give you aftercare, which means that that's not going to happen, and we don't need to make them dark and heavy. Everything's going to be okay. And we didn't make them dark and heavy, but I can remember sending her out thinking, I really hope that her husband is going to look at her when she gets home, because they're not dark and heavy, but they do look different to how she walked in a couple of hours ago. And yeah, that does make you feel sick. Thankfully, I send all of my clients a link to review me within about 2 hours of them leaving. And I got a positive review come in from her saying how wonderful they were, and that her husband even liked them. And I can just remember thinking, oh, thank God.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Tell me about a time when you felt like an absolute hero in work.
God, I feel like a hero in work all the time. Is that really cheesy? I think it's incredible that women, you know, with something like brows, it's such a simple but important thing. Brows is what I do most of, and people get really emotional about, especially if they don't have a lot, or if it's something that they've been having to do as a sort of task for a long time, or if it's something they've been wanting to have done but have worried about it for so long. But when you sit them up and they look in the mirror and, you know, they're so thankful, how can you not feel like a hero for making someone feel like that? And then, you know, you do get your exceptional cases, your cases where people have got alopecia or they're cancer survivors, or there's just something about someone that makes you think, do you know what, you really needed this.
Yes.
No, you really needed this, and that makes you feel really good.
Yeah, no,
but we're in the business of making people feel brilliant about themselves, and so that makes me feel heroic. There's nothing quite so great as making someone feel wonderful.
No, it's absolutely that feeling of achievement that I get, because our business is essentially a positive one. You know, it's uplifting, and there's a transfer of, you know, positivity, if you like.
Yeah.
But to do that every day is a bloody gift, you know.
And I thought that beauty was really going to be about just treating 25-year-olds that wanted Instagram brows, and actually that's like the smaller part of the clients I do. Yeah. Most of them are women that don't spend enough time or money on themselves. They've probably got a little bit of a self-esteem issue about how they look. They may be, you know, lacking in confidence, as all of us are internally. Yeah. And what we do can give them a real lift.
Yes.
So it's that is a side of the industry that I didn't expect, but that I really love.
Yeah, I get that. Okay, your life. How have you coped generally with lockdown?
I'm okay, you know.
I get that. I'm okay. You're very busy.
I'm so busy. I don't know how I'm going to fit any clients in, Scott. Honestly, I don't. I've put a lot of my content of training courses online. I've been meaning to do it for months, and this has given me a real
opportunity
to do that, and an opportunity. I've been crazy. I've been doing lives, I've done podcasts, I'm talking to you. I've loved it, but you know, I'm quite happy in my own little bubble. I've got I love socializing, I love going out, but do you know what, I don't do it that often. I've got 2 young kids. I don't go out often anyway. I don't like the fact that I'm not allowed.
No. You don't like being told?
No, I don't like being told. But it's been okay. And again, I'm used to the uncertainty. I'm used to not seeing friends and family very often because we don't live near them anyway.
Right.
And I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful for that. And I'm grateful that my children are really flexible.
Yes. Yeah. Alice, what is the first thing you will do after lockdown is lifted?
Okay, so this again is going to make me sound really, really old. It should be like go and get a frozen margarita and go and party and see all my girlfriends. No, we're going to go to the zoo, Scott, is the first thing that we are going to do.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're going to go to Banham Zoo. My little girl was 6 at lockdown. Her birthday party was actually supposed to be 3 days into lockdown. So she had her birthday party cancelled, and my Rose absolutely loves a party.
Right.
She spends at least 6 months before every birthday party planning her birthday party. So Rose spends about 6 months planning her birthday party. She's had a shoebox full of like a bit of a mood board with all the things that she's going to do. And her birthday party got cancelled. Right. And one of the things that she wanted to do was to go to Banham Zoo. So we will be taking her to Banham Zoo, and she will be having an unbirthday birthday treat. So that's the very first.
That's lovely. What would you do? You just won 10 million on the lottery, and what is the first thing you would do, and would you continue to work?
So the very first thing I would do would be it would have to be a spreadsheet. I mean, financial services.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. Yes. I'd have to be analytical about it. I'd have to have a really good think. I'm not really into cars, but as a teenager, I can remember driving along and seeing this purple XR3i Escort convertible next to us and thinking...
You are such an Essex girl.
I know, aren't I?
Did it have white leather inside, babe?
Do you know what? I don't know. But if I'm going to get one, that's what I would do. It would
100%.
Have to be
100%.
White, leather interior, metallic purple, Escort XR3i convertible. Yeah, that would be lovely. That would be my little fun treat.
Right.
And then I just spend some time just doing some really nice things, going to Monte Carlo, and I'm not really into things like racing, but I'm sure there's lots of champagne.
Absolutely, I'm with you all the way.
I mean, it would just be awful, wouldn't it? So yeah, I mean, well, £10 million, you can do quite a lot with that, right?
Yeah. Would you work still, babe?
No, I think I would. I think I would to some degree.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd work like I do now.
No.
I'd probably play more at working, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I do clients anymore, but I really like this side of what I do. I like training, and I like teaching, and I like coaching, and I like presenting. So I don't know. I'd find something, but I don't know whether I'd work in a clinic anymore.
No, I'd probably be the same. I'd probably go around the world to lots of conferences thinking, yeah, that would be a really nice technique to try on a client when I eventually decide not to be going on conferences. So yeah, that's probably what I would do too.
Yeah. Okay, if you were a superhero or a supervillain, and I know this is nonsense, but I get to do this and I love it. If you were a superhero or a supervillain, who would you be?
I found this really difficult to answer.
I know you did. I found
both of your questions really difficult to answer. I don't know. Really difficult. I settled on Harley Quinn.
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, goodness me, she is hot as hell, isn't she? Yeah. I mean, if I could look like that, then again, who needs £10 million?
She's pretty kick-ass as well, isn't she?
She's super kick-ass. Yeah. So yeah, she's bloody sassy. She's got a great sense of style. She's super spunky.
Yeah.
And
loves
she's
a bad boy. Loves a bad boy.
Loves a bad boy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's really her thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
She fell in love with a bad boy, but she's a softie on the inside.
Yeah, I get that. I get it. What was the last present you got for somebody?
So it's been my mum's birthday recently, and I sent her one of those foil balloons.
Oh yeah.
A helium balloon.
Yeah.
So yeah, only something small, but we couldn't see her because of lockdown. And I'm a big fan of those. I think things like flowers don't last very long, but the balloons just go on forever, and it's just like it's yes. So that was the last gift I bought.
What was the last present someone got you, Alice?
Well, it was my birthday in March, and I'm a big fan of time presents. So not necessarily things that I can hold in my hands, but doing things or spending time together.
Yeah.
And my husband took me out for a night. I had a night off from being a mum.
Right.
It was a surprise evening. We were actually staying in Cardiff, visiting some family, and we were getting the kids ready for bed. And he said to the kids, "Right, Auntie Helen's outside, and their godmother was outside, and she whisked the children off."
Oh, that is lovely.
I got taken out for. We went and ate cheeseburgers and played in the arcades and watched a film. It was quite cheesy, but it was a really good night.
Oh, brilliant. I love that. What is the best present you've ever had?
Again, I'm really lucky. I've had some really good presents, and I was looking for this today, and I couldn't find it. So it's going to bug me. I'm going to have a real search when we finish. A colleague of mine, a really sweet lady called Judith, when I was about 20, bought me a Chanel compact mirror.
Wow, okay.
And it was for no particular reason. It wasn't my birthday or anything like that. And she bought one for me, and she bought one for my friend Rhiannon, who had both been working for the company for a little while. And she gave it to us, and she said, "I'm giving you this as a gift because someone gave this to me when I was around your age. And they told me that no woman should ever be without a Chanel compact mirror."
Wow.
And it's so that is probably my favourite gift.
Oh, that's
lovely. And I do still have it somewhere, and I do use it. You know, if I'm going to a function or a mess do, it's usually in my bag. Yes. It's what I take is my Chanel compact mirror.
Oh, that's lovely. I like that. Okay. If you could learn any language in the world, do you like languages?
Yeah, I do. I'm just not very good at learning things, Scott.
No, neither am I. If you could learn any language, which would it be? I
think it would have to be French, because I know a little bit of French anyway, and that might be cheating a little bit. But when I've been to the south of France and I've sort of immersed myself in, French-speaking society, yes. It comes flooding back.
Final question, another bit of nonsense. If you were stuck on a desert island, you had food, water, shelter, and power, okay? What 3 personal items would you bring?
So I've not said my phone, because, that's not fun, is it? That's kind of everyone would take with them. And I'm quite a practical girl. So I was thinking about the things that I get really annoyed if I haven't got. One is a hair bobble, so just a hairband. This stuff just, I need to be able, I live with my hair up. Yeah. I'd need a hair bobble. I'd probably take my mirror, my little compact mirror with me. Yeah. Who doesn't love looking at themselves after all? Yeah. And I don't know on the third thing. I'm not really sure. Are
you a sketcher and a drawer?
Not really. Maybe, I was going to say maybe a good bottle of gin or something like that, but then I have all of the food and the drink that I need.
That's true. That's true.
But yes, if it was just basic food and drink that I had, then I'd take a nice bottle of gin.
Good fry of gin and some tonic. Yeah. Yeah, excellent. Okay, so we've come to the end, more or less, but you get now to ask me 3 questions.
I do.
Yeah, you do. So fire away, Missy.
So my first one, Scott, and I'm sure you've had quite a few, but what's your funniest client experience?
Right.
Do you
Well,
have a story or an anecdote?
oh God. Well, I've got to tell you, part of me doesn't even know whether I should say this. It's actually very recent, and I've had a fair few over the years, right? But very recently, I had a direct message on one of my social media platforms, from a guy asking for a price on what I market as the handsome package. And it's a combination of filler techniques, procedures for men, including jawline enhancement, chin projection, straightening the bridge of the nose, lifting the tip maybe if it needs it, and tear troughs and cheekbones. It's all quite minimal. It's not very over the top, but it does make a difference. And he basically said, give me a ballpark figure, which I did. I sent him a ballpark figure, and he came back with another message saying any room for negotiation. And I said, well, unfortunately not. The price is the price. This is what I charge because this is the skill. The befores and afters are out there, sort of thing. Whereby he sent me a load of stills and videos of him at work. And he worked very, very hard. He is a porn star. And a very handsome and evidently sexually fluid porn star. Because he followed that up with, maybe we could barter. To which I replied, no, not really.
My price is my price.
Well, he stopped up here, thank you. And so far, Alice, he has yet to get back to me to book in. So that happened to me in the last 3 months. And it's because of the reach now that social media is getting all over the world, that was a shocker, I can tell you. It was.
I love it. How funny, hilarious. So my next one is, what part of your personality has got you into the most trouble?
You said earlier about yourself, you're very to the point, you're opinionated, and you'll say what you've got to say. I'm actually quite similar to that, so I would have to say probably that.
It can be a blessing and a curse.
So, yeah, it would probably be that.
Okay. And if they made Scott Triggs the movie, who would play you, Scott?
There's only one star of this show. It would have to be me. Or, I have to say, do you know the Australian model and actress Ruby Rose?
No, I don't.
Okay, so she looks like a rather young, when she's dressed as a boy, she looks like Elvis Presley at about 20 years of age. She's she's handsome, beautiful,
Right.
And she played a kick-ass mute assassin in one of the John Wick's movies.
Okay.
She's absolutely lush. So she'd be all right because she's gorgeous. And also someone like Colin Farrell, who was, handsome and dazzling smile and, fit. So, yeah.
And then I'm going to throw you a curveball. Who would play CJ?
Sorry?
I'm going to throw you a curveball. Who would play CJ?
He's laughing. The Rock.
The Rock.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, The Rock. I'm guessing. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for coming on and sharing. It's been absolutely lovely.
Thank you so much for the invite, Scott. I really appreciate it. And I was surprised to be invited, as you know, because that was so funny when I'd said to you, hadn't I, if you want someone to speak to, you send me a message, and you said, have you not checked your messages?
Exactly. Can you get over that? Yeah. I know, that was so, you must have been psychic. We must have done that almost at the same time,
We must have done.
One of the great things about doing this is that you meet someone and you think, I like you, or there's a connection here somewhere. And whether it's because you share something, there's some common ground, quite often it's because you have opposing views on something but are still interested in what that person says. So one of the great things about doing this is that I do get to choose interesting and fun people. And you were right up there at the top of my list when I started thinking about people that I wanted to get up. No, not at all. When I started to think about the personalities and the people, influencers, leaders, trainers, techs, and also, interestingly, there are techs who are the furthest away from that, never put themselves forward, never have no social media presence whatsoever. Some of those I really want, that I've met during work, I want to get on and talk about, why it's not important for them, and they still have a fulfilled, a successful business. They're fulfilled professionally. So for me, it's like I'm cherry picking from a lovely crowd. It's bloody great. I love it.
Well, it's so nice to be one of those cherries.
My pleasure. Alice, thank you so much. I shall speak to you soon.
Have a good day. Thank you very much. If you need anything, just let me know. You know where I am.
I will. Thank you, darling. Take care.
Later.
Bye-bye. Bye.